Thank you for joining us. Here with us today is Tiffanie Mendez, Regional Sales Director at Sunbelt, Dayna Shelkey-Bray, who is the National Strategic Customer Manager for Sunbelt, and Kristie Thompson, a mechanic at Sunbelt Rentals. And we're all going to be discussing women in construction. And to start us off, I'd love to learn a little more about each of your background. And maybe just to kick us off, we'll kind of just go around our circle here. And let's start with you, Dayna. Can you talk to us about how you got started in the construction industry and, what piqued your interest and how you ended up at Sunbelt Rentals?
Absolutely. Thanks for, having us here. I was in around construction most of my life. My dad was a cement finisher and then worked his way up as a general superintendent. I worked 2 summers while attending college at the company that my dad worked at. Some of the hardest, longest days of my life. That is definitely where I learned to respect the industry. That's for sure. It's one of those, it's nice to have that feeling of being a part of something at the beginning and the whole way to the end, and years down the road, you can drive by and think to yourself in some small way, I was a part of that.
Sure. Great. And could we have you dive in there, Tiffanie, and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up where you are right now?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I'm originally from the Imperial Valley, California's Imperial Valley, or what we lovingly refer to as the Desert Southwest. There's not a whole lot going on down there besides agriculture, manufacturing, and construction. So right out of high school, I went to work for a company called United States Gypsum. I worked at their Plaster City plant, and I was there for 4 years. I was a production line driver, and I got to drive all kinds of fun, big equipment, forklifts, wheel loaders, a lot of the same stuff that we rent today. Following that, I joined an equipment rental company in Yuma, Arizona, started out in the wash bay. So there's a joke in rental business for all of us that are lifers. We joke around all being born in a wash bay.
Okay.
Certainly true in my case. I started out washing equipment, and I was afforded the opportunity to move into the office and work at the counter, which is a big deal in equipment rental when you get to go from yard to counter. I stayed with that company and worked my way through the ranks. We were renting agricultural equipment, specializing in irrigation systems. And we saw as the Yuma Valley began to change and become more gentrified, if you will. People started moving in. There was more construction opportunity. So at first, we were using our agriculture pumps and pipeline to design dewatering, filtration, and transfer systems for contractors. We saw that there was better margins in that market. And so little by little, we started to craft our product offering more toward construction and industrial customers, and while still maintaining the ag business. And that really got me my start in the construction end of the business, in the construction end of rental. And from there, I was able to transfer around several times with that company, and then ultimately ended up in the Bay Area.
Great. So how about you, Kristie? Can you talk us through kind of how you got involved in what you're doing for the company?
I actually started right out of high school. I got an apprenticeship as a small engine mechanic. I've been doing that about 25 years. And just going through switching jobs, I've been in the rental industry for probably close to 20 in and out. I've been with Sunbelt for 6 years, and I've recently started my heavy equipment apprenticeship. It was actually almost 20 years to the day from starting one apprenticeship to the second.
Well, that's great. Good for you. I mean, it sounds like you all have had a very interesting path into working in the construction industry, whether starting from, having a background in the industry, almost like falling into it in some ways. So I think that that's not unusual that you see a mix of that. Can you talk a little bit more about each of you, about some of the responsibilities you have in your current roles?
I've been with Sunbelt now for 16 years. I started with Sunbelt actually on a funny story playing softball. I used to be a teacher before. That was what I went to college for. So I was a teacher for 2 years, didn't have any friends, moved it from Pittsburgh to South Florida. And one of my colleagues' husband said, "Hey, do you want to join a softball league?" And I said, "That's great. I played in college. Perfect fit." So I've started playing with their team, and I quickly left teaching and moved over to Sunbelt about 2 summers later. They became my family through softball and then through work. During that time, like I said, I've been here for 16 years. During that time, I started as a resort rep. It was in South Florida, calling on conventions, hotels, events throughout South Florida. And then I moved into a territory sales rep. And then after that, went into what we used to call our key account program, dealing with larger companies within that region district that I was responsible for. Then moved in as a district sales manager for that same district down in South Florida. Now the strategic customer manager for the last 6-7 years. My job is ultimately, I hold the relationship at their corporate level with some of the largest customers that Sunbelt Rentals has, myself and my colleagues, and then also connecting the dots throughout the United States. So, rather it be an outside sales rep in California, or having service issues with a Kristie, I believe I heard the accent up in Canada. I really get to connect the dots and make sure that our customers are having the best possible experience throughout the United States.
Great. Tiffanie, can you share some of what your responsibilities are?
Absolutely. So again, I've had many different jobs with Sunbelt on the operations and the sales side. A lot of opportunity here. It's been a lot of fun, and definitely feel very supported by the company. My current role is that I'm the region sales director for Northern California, Northern Nevada, and Hawaii. There's 2 jobs at Sunbelt, either your sales or your sales support. And so my role is very much a support role. I manage the regional strategic program for my end of the region. And I also support folks just like Dayna, our national managers, when they have an initiative or a rollout. The sales director's responsibility to make sure the relationship that they bring us gets crafted in the field, and that we maximize the project and region office opportunity that they bring to us. And it's also a lot of development and training for our territory sales reps, what we call our outside sales reps. So it's just making sure that as they onboard, that they have a clear understanding of all the tools that Sunbelt has for them to, all their sales tools, and then also just helping them learn how to be Sunbelt and how to interact with customers, how to win and grow business. So very much a support role, and it's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying doing it.
Awesome. And how about you, Kristie? Let's hear what you are primarily doing within your role.
Well, mostly repair, and we do have a shop manager, so I'm under him. But when he's gone, I deal with the customers also. But actually, through Sunbelt, one of my colleagues, I got a teaching job also at one of the local colleges, teaching a small engine class, which I am really hoping that we get more women out there. And also, there is many opportunities for me to grow here. As I started off as a mechanic 1, I'm now a mechanic 2 and working on my mechanic 3. I've gotten my heat license and many different trainings through Sunbelt, which has been excellent. Looking forward to many more. Yeah, and the more job opportunities to grow and get higher in the company.
That sounds great. I mean, what the kind of the central theme I'm hearing so far is that there's, you've all had some great opportunities to grow from kind of a starting point into roles that you're really excited and passionate about within the industry, and just continue to see opportunities for growth. Before we dive into, kind of more of a general thing on the opportunities for women in the construction sector, I'd like to talk a little bit about, kind of that elephant in the room where, we hear a lot about how women have some challenges coming into such a male-dominated industry. And I think some of those challenges aren't as prevalent as they once were. But can you talk about some of the challenges that you've faced along your career path in this sector, and how you've overcome any challenges or obstacles that you may have encountered?
There's challenges anytime you start any new career. The construction industry is no exception. However, this industry, it can be very generational, old school, hard work mentality. Knowledge and respect is earned through doing so. You being a female, it just adds an extra layer into the equation, or the challenge, I should say. I've always felt like I've needed to study harder, be more knowledgeable. You need to have tougher skin. You need to be stronger, but not overbearing. You also need to be patient. I respect the industry as a whole, but I do know there are biases and judgment out there. But I put myself out there as, I have 16 years of experience now. So whenever I walk onto a job site, of course, are there challenges? Are there going to be those biases? Of course there are. Such is life. So I think everybody on the call, and you could talk to male and female, I think there's always going to be challenges. You outwork people sometimes too. And this industry just fits my personality, as it probably does Kristie and Tiffanie on here. I like the hard work. I like earning the respect of my colleagues and my customers. That's fun. Right? It's a great industry to be a part of. And Sunbelt really, both of my colleagues here have said it, there's growth here. If you have the skill set and you work hard, yes, there are challenges, but they absolutely will reward you, and they respect the skill set that you bring, not necessarily gender.
Perfect. Tiffanie, can you contribute to that?
Really, my experience with, let's call it a gender bias, or it being more difficult for females in a construction-related role. And most of that I encountered when I was younger, and it was not at Sunbelt. But the main challenge that I would face in the field, especially when I was younger demographic, and we're talking back in the late 90s, so I was very much an anomaly, the only female sales professional or operational professional in the group. I didn't really face it as much from my peers, but when you'd walk onto a construction site, you would know that you're immediately being discounted for being young and being female. And the cool thing about that is you can absolutely use it to your advantage, because when people have completely discounted you, there's only one way to go from there. And so my tack was always just, I'm going to be extremely professional, and I'm going to be a solutions provider. I'm going to model myself as a long-term solutions provider, and I'm going to solve this customer's problem, from groundbreaking until closeout. I will win this person over. So the more crotchety, dismissive they were, there was this weird correlation where the more difficult they were to win over, the more long-term and loyal of a customer they became. And to the point that they say, well, I need to be able to get in touch with you because you're the only person I know can solve my problem.
That's great.
So there's this weird leverage that you can use. Again, I saw it more in my younger years in the industry. Since I've been at Sunbelt, I worked for Bill Laughlin, who in the West Coast, he's like the godfather of rental. It's like a bucket list item to work for Bill Laughlin. So he's since retired, but just a great mentor and a dear friend. I would always tell Bill that his hiring practices were like an episode of The Voice. He's so much diversity in his regional team, and you could absolutely tell that he was picking people based on their skill set and their talents, irrespective of any other demographic that they might fit in. I've figured out ways to overcome the challenges in my career, but truly, like I don't have to do that here, and it really is about like, what do you bring, and and how do you apply it? We're lucky to be where we're at with this company particularly.
Great. And Kristie, how about you? What kind of experiences have you encountered?
I agree with both ladies. It's been a fine line, and had a lot more issues in my younger years. I worked for Sears Canada for a while, and going into people's homes was a totally different atmosphere, and having to deal with people one-on-one like that. I heard a lot of negative, but it seemed to be twice as much positive. So you have to take that positive. As a younger woman that I had to work twice as hard to prove that I knew what I could do. It always bugged me when I would hear, see, it takes a woman to do it, when I would fix something that other people couldn't. Because my thing was, yes, I'm a woman, but I did not have women mentors. They were all men, right? Everything I've learned from men. And it's been the positive men that have put me in this position.
That's great. I mean,
I wish there were more women.
I agree. And since you bring that up, I would like to talk about that, because I think that this industry has a lot to offer, whether it's being in the rental side of the business, whether it's being in the shop, whether it's being on the construction site, doing the work in the field. There are tons of opportunities in the construction industry. And I guess I'd like to hear from each of you, what keeps you passionate about this industry, and what you would like to say about the opportunities you see out there for women coming into the construction industry and being able to build a career for themselves. And let's go ahead and start with you again, Dayna.
All right, let's keep it going.
Yeah.
I have the pleasure within my current role that I get to talk to equal colleagues and equal customers. So I keep my passion, though, mostly by talking to colleagues, brainstorming, connecting with all levels of our organization throughout the country, hearing their stories, hearing their ideas, their challenges. It makes me want to continue to learn, adapt. I always am looking for ways to evolve and improve. Sometimes that is, accomplished by listening, taking opportunities to mentor others. I mean, we both just talked about, we had mentors that happened to be men, just based on all three of us have been in the industry for quite a while now. Being able to mentor young men and women now coming up, that is really cool. There's just something great about being able to talk to yourself, that was there 15 years ago and having a woman on the other side. So that is cool. I do think it takes a special woman to be in this industry, but if they have the right skill set, they can do whatever they want to do. I mean, I think the three of us on this call have demonstrated that today. If you're willing to do it and it's something that you're passionate about, I think there's all the opportunity in the world for women in this industry. But it does take people like the guys that mentored us and then us to step into that role also, as we've been in this industry for a long time, to rise up other women within this industry too.
I agree. Tiffanie, what are your thoughts?
I mean, what keeps me passionate is really in any part of construction. Construction is so diverse, and the equipment rental, the equipment piece of construction is so incredibly diverse that no 2 days are alike. There's something different to do every day. There's a different kind of flavor, different kind of project, a different application. To Dayna's point, you're consulting with your colleagues, we have different business verticals that specialize in different things, and we are constantly in communication with them and talking about how to provide the solution for our customers and engage our professionals and our experts in every field to make sure that we're providing this total solution for our clients. And as far as opportunity for females in the construction industry, I'm on a volunteer board for one of our trade associations. And one of the things I'm extremely passionate about on that board is our student programs. We have student chapters from different universities where we give the students paid scholarships, airfare, and conference registration to come to our show and to learn. And they volunteer their time, but they get to learn. And you see this diverse group of students. So you have an opportunity to be with them and mentor them and talk to them about opportunity. When you think about construction, it's not just digging a trench or putting a tilt up in place, or it's all about all of the peripheral industry, like environmental science, the engineering piece, civil engineering, the safety piece. There's so many different aspects of construction. So for us, I feel like the responsibility and the challenge is to educate and train all of the diverse up-and-comers in university and trade school, high school graduates, that are interested in our field. We're not going to be able to do it forever. And it's all about how we are mentoring, training, and giving back to the next generation. And when I look at the demographic just in our trade association, it is probably about 40% female students. So I know it's there, and I know that there's opportunity for those students. And I would say it's modern times now. And every company that's on the board that I talk to, a big part of what we talk about is diversity in the workplace, and not just to check a box. When you look at the diversity initiatives now in the United States, it's about people recognizing that there's strength in diversity and that there's strength in a varied demographic of workforce. And that as you bring different types of people and different genders and demographic groups, ages together, that you have a richer environment and you have more creativity. And that is what continues, or what will allow us to continue to differentiate ourselves, is promoting and nurturing that creativity. Super excited about it.
Yeah, I can tell. And I think that's great that the group that you're involved with is really actively pursuing those avenues as well, and encouraging that diverse type of workforce to come in. Kristie, what about you? What keeps you passionate, and what opportunities do you see especially in the area of the industry that you're involved in?
I love learning new things. I get bored easily and then I change jobs. So as long as I'm learning new things, I get bored. I need something to just spark an interest. And the fact that we have so many different pieces of equipment and different avenues to go. Every school I've ever been to, I've been the only female. Every apprenticeship, every course I've taken, the only female. And I just really want to change that and really want to do whatever I can to change that. Anybody I talk to, any high school student, tell them if you get bored easy, if you want job protection, you don't want to have to worry about looking for a job, go into the trades, whether it's mechanical, electrical, whatever. The trades are the way to go. And there's always like some women worry, am I going to be able to lift that or have these, concerns? There's always something to help you with that. There is lift mechanisms. There's, I'm 45 years old and I'm still doing it. I know the average age when I started in the small engine industry was 65.
Wow.
So there is so much need for the trades.
Absolutely.
And it's job security. It is complete job security. I have never gone long without a job.
That's amazing. And I think one of the things that obviously there has been a significant skills and labor gap that the industry has been facing. And, what you're saying, that here's a great opportunity to build, the workforce. But there are obviously some obstacles, some hurdles to getting people to come into the workforce, whether it's women or other demographics. Can you talk about what you see as opportunities to overcome those hurdles? Do you have any insights into how we might get more awareness of the types of jobs that you have, even to inspire people? Because certainly all of you seem very passionate about what you do, and it's exciting to talk to you, but how do we get that passion conveyed to others out there who might be looking for a new opportunity?
I think if we were going to talk about the hurdle, I think the biggest hurdle about bringing more women into this industry is that there's more men in this industry. And there will probably always be more men in this industry and in the trades. And that's okay. However, that doesn't mean that women should be intimidated or think that they don't belong because of that. I think that's the biggest, challenge. Obviously, seeing more women in the industry on a daily basis helps break that persona. But truly, it's the men in the industry that can change the projection as well. As all three of us have talked, I was blessed to have male mentors at Sunbelt that truly wanted me to succeed, not because I was a woman, but because I earned it and because they recognize that. It's a joint effort barrier that needs to be broken down. It is a hurdle, if you will. At the end of the day, everybody just recognizing everybody's skill set. And it's just kind of funny because I think we've all been in this so long. This is probably the most any of us have talked about women in the industry, right?
Yep.
I think so.
We live it every single day. And I guess like to Tiffanie and Kristie's, earlier response is we have dealt with this, maybe some challenges at the beginning, but all those challenges kind of made us how we are today. And I wouldn't change that either. Like I said, it was probably hard for all of us to put our thoughts together. I know it was for me because I just don't talk about it that often. We talk about stories and challenges of the job or a client, not necessarily us anymore. Those would be my thoughts on just how to bring more women in. Is just it takes all of us to break that persona down.
Absolutely. How about you, Tiffanie? What do you think?
I think Dayna's exactly right. We just need to start talking about it when we have the opportunity, or if there's another platform to just talk about it and talk about how it's working for us and how it's not scary. I see it going the right way here in my end of the region. We've got more females coming in all the time. And our leadership team, again, all of our district managers so far here are male, but they are all very supportive of and diligently seeking more female employees. So I think a lot of times too, it's just the perception of construction. It doesn't always get a lot of females excited. When they think about construction, they're not thinking about like finely engineered design build systems. They're thinking about digging and about most people, when you think about construction, you think about the dirt end of construction, the first phases where you're doing all the foundations. And so it seems dirty. And so I really feel like it's just better education, that there's a lot of other things to do in construction. I mean, you can get your hands as dirty as you want, but you don't necessarily have to. There's other things that you can do on the safety side too. The safety piece of construction it's so paramount. And it's so indispensable to what we're doing right now. Everything that we're doing starts with safety. And just what I'd like to see, especially as an avenue for females, is just more focus on that, on, hey, there's a whole career you can build in safety from the ground up that just requires your studying and your persistence, being out in the field and seeing how it's done. But nothing gets done without the safety piece being fully intact first. So that's just such a huge part of the business, I think, that we're not talking about. We're talking about safety every day, all day long, but we're not talking about it, I don't think, as much in terms of the great career opportunity, that lies as part of the construction industry. So I think that it needs to be a more measured approach to showing the attractive side of the business, if you will. For me, it's all attractive, but for those who don't know, they're, and even my daughter's 7, and I tell her, because my husband's a scaffold guy. So I've always said, look, you got 2 choices. You can learn to build scaffold systems, or you can learn how to, design and build bypass systems. She wants to be a YouTube content creator, and she wants nothing to do with any of it. But even with my own female child, I've failed to show her the pretty side of construction. So.
But what's interesting is I spoke to a construction company, a large electrical company that is actually trying to bring gamers into their operations because they are so qualified to be able to help with things like doing BIM models and things, things of that nature, helping with the virtual reality. So there are lots of different types of roles within construction that go well beyond, digging a hole out on a job site. So, and speaking of different roles, Kristie, I'd love to get your thoughts on our discussion here.
Well, I think what we're doing here today, just being open, visible, and open to the conversation with people on an everyday basis.
Sure.
That in education in high schools, opening it up to people that they just aren't aware most of the time of the different industries and education and paths that you can go in this industry.
Right. Yeah. And that's a good point because, unfortunately, a lot of the high schools are no longer even focusing on tech skills anymore. And that is a disservice to students, in my opinion. And I'm sure you probably feel the same way, that they're not getting that exposure to other careers. I guess I'd like to kind of close things out by just asking you if there's anything more that you would like to share with us that to help encourage people to think outside the box when it comes to the career field and consider, whether it be a woman or whether it be someone from another diverse segment of the employment marketplace, to consider construction, because this is an industry that has a lot of growth potential. Do you have any other thoughts that you'd like to share at this point?
Yeah, I have always, I travel on planes for a living in normal times. I travel on planes for a living, and it's always funny. I'm sitting on a plane and somebody, male, female, doesn't matter, young, old, they'll say to me, what do you do for a living? And I say, I rent construction equipment. And they look at you like, oh, and then it sparks a conversation. And by the end of the conversation, they think it is like the coolest thing in the world, that's even a market, that's even a thing, right? If I were to say to my younger self, basically, with anything, stay focused. Don't let things derail you. If you want to be a mechanic, strive to be the best mechanic out there. If you want to be a truck driver, then do what needs to be done to make that happen. If you want to go into sales or operation, educate yourself, invest in yourself. I tell my son and my daughter all the time, they've only known me in this industry. I always tell them, you can be whatever you want to be in life, but that doesn't mean that there's not going to be challenges and hurdles along the way. They need to be that change, both of them. So that's really what I would tell my younger self if I was coming into this industry, or telling people that, like Kristie said, I think a lot of it's just education and the misconception of the industry.
Tiffanie, do you have additional thoughts that you'd like to share?
Anything to do with construction. So it could be environmental construction, infrastructure, petrochemical. There's so many different things we can talk about in terms of construction, but all of those are and will continue to be essential business. If you put yourself in a position to work in construction, you will always have something to do. And the other thing I would say, if I'm mentoring, again, a younger me, and I'll just say, go boldly and be unafraid, because it doesn't matter, the political or the economic environment doesn't matter. What matters is that what's important to regulators drives what's important to construction. And we discover that thing and we capitalize on it. Everybody needs rental equipment, but everybody needs essential business. So there's always a way to make money. There's always a way to be essential. So just focus on that. You'll always have something to do, and go boldly. That'd be my advice.
Great. And Kristie, you want to close us out with this?
For sure. One thing I know, like I have 2 older boys, and when they were finishing high school and trying to decide what they wanted to do, they were stressing out, thinking about what they were going to do for the rest of their life. The way I see it, you're going to change jobs a few times. So don't worry about what you're going to do with the rest of your life. What is your passion right now? And go with that. Stick with that, educate yourself, do the best you can with that. And if that changes, change with it. Either you can change within the industry or you can, go back to school and do something else. Just do what you're passionate about.
Well, I think those are all great points, great insights. And I've had a really great time having a chance to chat with all of you 3 ladies. Appreciate you taking the time to share with us. And I think this has been some very valuable information that you've shared. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Thanks so much. It's great getting to visit with all of you as well.